Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Ranking Member McGovern for recognizing me to speak in support of H.R. 1640, the Save Our Gas Stoves Act, and H.R. 1615, the Gas Stove Protection and Freedom Act. It's really hard to believe that we're here talking about the federal government banning an appliance such as a gas stove. H.R. 1640, the Save Our Gas Stoves Act, is a bipartisan bill that was introduced by Energy and Commerce member Debbie Lesko to stop the Department of Energy from finalizing its proposed regulations to ban the majority of natural gas-fueled cooking stoves on the market today. H.R. 1615, the Gas Stove Protection and Freedom Act, is a bipartisan bill introduced by Energy and Commerce member Kelly Armstrong to prevent the Consumer Product Safety Commission from undertaking work that could result in an outright ban or a substantial price increase in the cost of a new gas stove for Americans, while allowing the CPSC to continue the important safety work of the Commission. These bills are necessary because the Democrats' coordinated all-out war on oil and gas and our government getting into our household kitchens. In January, Consumer Product Safety Commissioner Trumka suggested that CPSC should consider a ban on gas stoves. Commissioner Trumka's threat to ban gas stoves received a lot of attention, and while the chair of the CPSC and the White House tried to walk it back, the real agenda of the extremists embedded in the administration was on full display. Furthermore, neither the president nor the chair of CPSC have rebuked advocacy groups like the Rocky Mountain Institute, which I'll note has a questionable tie to China, and that alone should raise concerns on both sides of the aisle. I'll start with H.R. 1640. In February, the Department of Energy proposed new regulations that would effectively ban more than half of the gas cooking stoves on the market today. Americans do not want the federal government to tell them how to live their lives, whether it's the kind of car they drive or how they cook their food. Regrettably, the Department of Energy plans to do just that. DOE is caving to radical environmental activists agreeing to a backroom sue and settle deals to regulate thousands of consumer products and appliances over the next 2 years. DOE's proposal to ban gas stoves is just the tip of the iceberg. Members should also be aware that DOE has plans to regulate virtually every appliance in our homes, including air conditioners, refrigerators, washing machines, hot water heaters, dryers, and even microwave ovens. The Department of Energy's proposal to ban gas stoves is deeply unpopular, and I believe it also violates the statutory requirements of the Energy Policy and Conservation Act. The law requires the DOE to prove that proposed efficiency standards are cost-effective and save a significant amount of energy. The law also prohibits DOE from using efficiency standards as a backdoor ban on natural gas. How do we know this new rule is politically motivated? Well, that's because DOE evaluated the existing efficiency standards for stoves and ovens in 2020 and declined to proceed with new regulations, explaining that any new standards would not be economically justified and would not result in a significant amount of energy savings. It's clear that DOE's most recent proposal fails the statutory test to issue new regulations. When DOE evaluated the proposed standards, it found that 96% of the gas stove models it tested would not comply. DOE also found that average annual consumer savings under the proposed rule would only be $1.08 over the average lifetime of the product. Let me repeat that. DOE found that the average annual consumer savings under the proposed rule would only be $1.08 over the average lifetime of the product. The Energy and Commerce Committee has examined DOE's efficiency standards setting process through roundtables and background hearings. H.R. 1640 has been through regular order in the committee where DOE Secretary Granholm testified on the legislation and committee members marked up the bill and favorably reported it with a strong bipartisan vote. Next, I want to turn to H.R. 1615, which addresses the CPSC regulations for gas stoves. The minority, during the markup and in their minority views, have attempted to mislead the American people about what this bill actually does. Committee Democrats have falsely claimed that H.R. 1615 would stop the CPSC from using federal funds to issue and enforce safety standards for gas stoves. This is simply not true. H.R. 1615 would not prohibit the CPSC from acting under its statute to address true safety hazards associated with faulty gas stoves. Nothing in H.R. 16 would prevent the CPSC from conducting product recall, putting out a safety notice, participating in voluntary standards development related to gas stoves, or conduct rulemaking, so long as the result is not a broad ban, prohibition on sale, or a substantial price increase to the average price of a gas stove in the United States. H.R. 1640 and H.R. 1615 are both important bipartisan bills, and I strongly encourage my colleagues to join me in the support. And with that, I'd like to thank the Rules Committee for meeting on this legislation today, and I look forward to sending it over to the Senate and ultimately to the President's desk. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I yield back.